for this lesson, we are going to draw this fish. And the reason I picked this one to start with is because the shapes are fairly simple and it is just a black outline drawing instead of from a photograph. When you're first starting to draw or to learn to draw, I think it's easier to have those solid lines to look at rather than looking at a photograph that wouldn't have the solid lines and have all the areas of shading and light and darkness. But we want to learn just how to connect those lines and shapes together, because learning to draw is about seeing the shapes and lines. So looking at this fish, the first shape I see, and one of the largest, is its body, which is kind of like an oval, but it's pointed on that end, and I can even say, well, it might be pointed on that end too. So I'm going to start by drawing this oval, kind of like the shape of an eye maybe, so where it's pointed on both ends. If you can see that, draw a little darker here. Okay, and that's going to be this body of the fish. Okay, the next major shape I see is the tail, which might be kind of like a triangle, though not quite. So I might draw that in. I probably would, just to get it on the paper. Kind of draw a triangular shape, just so I know where I'm going with this. Keep it on the paper, you can see here. Okay, now there are some other shapes. I see a triangle here, and that might be a triangle. Although because these are a little bit smaller, I'm going to think of them more as lines. So I'm going to look at where the line starts and where the line ends and the shape of the line. So this one starts about just right in the middle of his back almost. And now I'm going to look at where it ends. It ends, it's on his tail, so it ends over here. So I have put a little bit of his tail there. I haven't done his tail yet, but I'm going to put a little bit of his tail there. Now I'm looking at the shape. It's like I'm sloping up, a little bit bumpy, a down slope and a curve. Or I could look at it the other way, curve up, whichever direction. I'll probably go this way just because I'm right-handed. So I'm going to just follow the line, practice following the line, curve, and then a little mountain up, going up a hill. Oh, I went a little far because this is going to have to go like this. So I did go a little far, but that's okay. I have my eraser. All right, so there's that back fin. Sort of like that. I'm going to go ahead and do the tail. I probably should have done it first since that's where I connected, but that's okay. Now the tail isn't exactly a triangle. It's not a solid triangle, so I'm going to pay attention to the lines. A curve, slight curve up. I'm going to go slight curve up. Then I'm going to come in. Come in. Kind of like a shark's mouth is what it reminds me of. Come out again. This bottom part's a little bit bigger. And then it's going to curve up, kind of like a sloping S, a skinny S. Curve up to touch the fish again. Now I can go back and erase all these crazy lines that were sort of like my guide, but I don't need them anymore. So I'm going to get rid of these so I don't get so confused because I draw a lot of lines. Okay, now I have this dorsal fin and I have the tail. Now I'm looking at this one and it's very close to the tail, isn't it? So maybe it starts right about here. And it's not that far, just a little loop. I'm going to loop and it's going to end right about there. I'm going to curve out and curve in a little bit. Curve out and curve in a little bit. And then bring this down. Now I have that fin. Now looking at these, this one started about in the middle. Look, this one's about lined up, isn't it? This one down here. So I'm just going to draw this real lightly so I can keep it in track. So I'm going to say those are going to start right here and they end a little bit down from this one. for me, drawing is easier when I'm just drawing lines and I'm trying to get the shape of the lines. It's easier for me if I know where I'm starting and I know where I'm ending. And then I have a place to go. So this one is going to come out. It doesn't touch that one. I'll make it come out but not quite touch. And then it looks like it comes down. And it's about the same length. Do you see that? It's about the same length right there. And then it's just a swoop up. So I kind of gave myself these guidelines. I said, okay, this and this are even. This doesn't touch. This and this are about even. This doesn't touch. It's about that wide apart. So looking at the last fin here, we have that small one there to do. It starts at the same place and it ends touching that fin. So it's going to start here and it's going to end touching this fin. And it comes down lower. Look, do you see that? How it comes down lower than this one does. So that gives me an idea. So I could even mark that on my paper. I could even say, I want to go lower. I'm going to go right about here. So I'm going to draw it. It's kind of like a long scoop. Scoop it there, and it's going to end there. So there's my other fin. Okay, now I have this little fin, and I already have my line. So I know that little fin is going to go sort of like that. Do you see that triangle on that side of the line? And then this side goes out, down, touch. So it's going to keep going out, then down, and then back and touch. And there's that little fin. So that line helps me in a lot of ways. It is perfectly fine to draw lines on your reference picture and on your paper if you draw them lightly, because see, then you can go back and erase them when you don't need them anymore. But see how much they have helped me find my way through these lines. So drawing is just about seeing how they connect. So I'm looking now at his eye. If this is his little mouth, I can go ahead and draw that little mouth there. And the eye is a little bit higher. So I might draw a little line for myself and say, okay, this point is pointing at the gill, and then the eye would be a little bit higher. And the eye is a solid circle there, solid circle with a circle around it. Circle around it. And there's my fish. Make his eye a little bit bigger. And there's my fish, and I can go back and color him or decorate him and get rid of any extra lines. This looks like this should probably not be out quite as far. But I can go back and fix him up. Get rid of these little guidelines. So in drawing this fish, it was about getting the shape on first. The main shape is this one, and then maybe the tail. And then noting where the lines start, where they stop, and the shape they take, the path they take. This one went up and down and curve. This was big curve in, out, kind of like a mouth. This one's curve up like a, sort of like an S. So a very shallow S. And then seeing where these connect and where they touch each other. And that is what drawing's all about. So if you practice those things and paying attention to where things are and how they connect, you'll be able to draw in no time at all.